And that's how races are being won right now, is by women that are making bold attacks and having a plan and confidence to follow through with it. When I approached Leadville this year, I had quite a different perspective on it. It's like, yes, I want to win, but I know that that's not something that happens every year. And I also know that like the level or the playing field is always different and things can happen. So I think instead of focusing on, yeah, I want to win, I want to defend my title, it's the only thing that's going to be successful in this day, I think there were small things that I could do that would also mean winning for me.
You're listening to Endurance Unlimited, a TrainingPeaks podcast for athletes and coaches, no matter what you're training for. Dial in those workouts with deep insights and cutting-edge science from the most prominent voices in the endurance and hybrid sports world.
I'm Matti Rowe, the education specialist here at TrainingPeaks. I have two guests today, Melisa Rollins and Isaiah Newkirk. Melisa is a professional gravel and mountain bike racer. This year she won Steamboat Gravel and came in second at the Leadville 100, breaking the record, and her coach Isaiah is the founder and coach of Training Edge Coaching and the performance director of Project Echelon. On this episode, we talk about Melisa's introduction to cycling, Isaiah's expertise, and how they strategize for Melisa's upcoming races. We also discuss how Melisa found motivation after her 2024 Leadville win and what success looks like in racing.
I'm Melisa Rollins. I am a gravel and mountain bike racer and a little bit of a road racer. I started riding when I was in college, just as an amateur. And my first race that I ever did was the Leadville 100. I just picked up a bike. My family had been doing it for a few years. And by a few, I mean like 2 decades up until that point. And so I just wanted to follow in their footsteps and see what I could do there. I was not competitive at all. I was a terrible climber. I was an okay descender. And I finished Leadville, and the next year, all I wanted to do was go back and be faster. And that was kind of the trajectory of what led me to an eventual pro contract in 2021 with the domestic road team. It's 2028 now, but 2024. And that I guess that's kind of a long story short, but that's what got me here.
Can I pause you there? Because I realized the other day that I subscribed to the feed, and I was like, I think I saw some spotlight on you. And yes, this morning I looked it up, and I recently received some like tailored email with background from the feed about you. And there was so the story about you getting into mountain biking, it seemed like it was some sort of bet. It was sort of like, I don't know, your stepdad or something was like, try this, you won't. And you were like, yeah, I will. And then you showed him, and I think you changed your life on a bet or something.
I mean, I don't know if you have kids, but
yeah,
if you do, you probably would like to see them do whatever you're into. And that's kind of how my parents were. They always wanted to see me cycle, and I always hated it. So they had brought me out when I was younger to mountain bike, and I always like hit every rock and crashed on every route. And so I decided really early on that I was not going to be into mountain biking. I did a lot of other sports growing up, but never cycling. And when I got to college, I stopped exercising at all. And so halfway through college, when I was a sophomore, I was sort of like, I really want to get back into something. And I just decided to, talk to my parents. And my dad ran a blog at the time that was super successful, and he had won a mountain bike in a raffle, and he wasn't going to be using it because he already had mountain bikes. And it's kind of like a perfect, it was weird, but it was perfect timing for.
So this is God's plan. Like
something like that. I don't know. The stars definitely lined up for this possibility. Sort of decided I wanted to give cycling a try, and I happened to have a bike that was offered to me. And I remember it this way. I don't know if he remembers it this way, but he did offer it to me. If I completed the Leadville 100, I could have said mountain bike that
was the carrot.
Yeah.
Like just do this casual 100-mile mountain bike race.
I mean, if
and
they
you
can
get
do
this
it,
bike. And P.S. I might love you if you do it too. Like,
I might love you more. I hope.
I might love you a little bit more. Wow.
They didn't know what they were getting me into. They didn't know. I feel like they signed up for something by allowing me to do this. Yeah, I ended up, I mean, as you know, it's really hard to get into Leadville. So I went the route of a charity entry slot. So I actually fundraised for NICA to get in.
Cool.
And yeah, so I ended up racing Leadville that year and on the bike. And so I was gifted a bike because of it, which is cool.
So quick question there. You finish your first time at the random entry and you get the bike. What are your first thought after you finished, you crossed the finish line was like, wow, I loved that. Like what emotions were you feeling?
Yeah, I don't think I was prepared for how hard that day was going to be.
Yeah.
At all. It was the hardest thing I had ever done. I think if you've ever watched anyone finish something like that for the first time, there's definitely, you watch them and there's this moment of, they're like, I don't ever want to do anything like that again. And then there's this like 2-day period where they think that, and then there's this plotting period where you're like, oh, I'm coming back. I'm going back for that for sure. And I think that was sort of the timeline for me. It was definitely for sure the hardest thing I had ever done. I remember like, I feel like I was walking into a different universe going up Columbine for the first time. Literally walking, I think I walked for 45 minutes of the climb. It's crazy. I think it took me twice as long my first time to get up Columbine as it did this year. So just as
twice as long. Wow, that's that's hard to imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy, but I mean, I loved it for reasons that I still love cycling, which is the community. I met people on that day that I still talk to. So yeah, I mean, I got a message 2 days ago I ended up finishing the race with a guy I met on the ride. And yeah, he messaged me 2 days ago and was like, I just wanted to say I'm still watching and I can't believe where you are. So
wow.
Yeah.
This is some fairy tale stuff. I'm finding myself getting a little inspired here. Speaking of inspiration, Isaiah, can we hear a little about your sparkling career?
So yeah, my name's Isaiah. I am Mel's coach, and I've been coaching for, I guess encroaching on 20 years now. And yeah, and no, I've just had the gift of being able to work with a very widespread of athletes, including Mel, which has been a very unique and amazing experience. And then I cover a pretty wide array of athletic disciplines, and that could be anything from endurance sport like this and more strength training and so on. So I just cover a really wide spread for just coaching in general. And my background comes from racing myself. I've also done Leadville. I don't quite have the same historic experience as Mel, but I've got just a lot of different experiences coming to this, and I just enjoy it as a profession.
I know that pretty well, man. I've suffered on your wheel one too many times. Still some resentment there, but anyway. So how did you guys find each other? Yeah, tell me that story. Was it just TrainingPeaks marketplace thing?
We have a mutual friend who connected us.
Okay.
He was very persistent.
Actually, yeah, he was more persistent than Isaiah was.
Yes. Yeah, he was. But hey, it was. I'm very grateful. But yes, he was very persistent.
Yeah, it was good timing. We only started working together earlier this year, so
okay.
I had been with Coach for the last 3 years, and I was ready for a change. And I think on my first conversation with Isaiah, it was like he met all of the needs that I wanted in a new coach, which was like, yeah, I mean, it really was. It felt right. And yeah, I was ready to make a change and sort of pursue a different avenue of training. And yeah, I think so far it has worked out and I've really enjoyed it.
So what were those things that jumped out at you when you first talked about striking up a athlete-coach relationship?
Yeah, I really wanted to have more opportunity to talk through race tactics, because I think I established with my old coach, I got to the point where I was like ready to perform and be in the lead group, and I was making it, but I wasn't able always to pull off any sort of like race winning move or understand what to do in the moment. And so that was something that I brought up with Isaiah initially. And obviously he's a director for Project Echelon. And so that was something that really drew me to wanting to chat with him. And he understands gravel racing, and he's done it himself. A lot of the races that I'm going to be, or that I'm doing and am going to be doing. So there was that for sure. And then I think being able to sort of build out my base even more was something that we talked about. I think it was just really nice to have him go in and look at a few things that I perhaps needed to work on that I hadn't explored yet. I had made so many improvements with my old coach that it was nice to have a new set of eyes to see maybe where I could go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me about just doing a little background, well, first rereading the SBT article, I liked the tactical emphasis in there, especially the first part really jumped out at me, how you wanted to make a move to reduce the peloton down, because you said there was this, or maybe it was Isaiah's quote, but it was like the irony of if you're really fit, but there's no selective move being made, then you're wasting a lot of energy waiting for the big move to make. So why not just make it yourself? I found that pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
So if you could say more about that kind of thinking.
I mean, I think a lot of it is confidence, and you sort of build this confidence with like very specific workouts that are given. And that's something that I think that Isaiah and I have done really well together, which is I think I sort of sometimes underestimate myself and don't really know the power that I have. And so building up to SBT, and SBT wasn't necessarily my goal for the year, but I think that preparing for the races that were my goal for the year have sort of led me to being able to have this really great result at SBT. And how I pulled it off was through these specific workouts that Isaiah had put together for me to prepare me for these other goals like Unbound and Leadville. And so knowing that I can finish off a day really hard with like a really hard move, and knowing that that's possible and that I'm able to do that really led me to being able to sort of pull it off at SBT and have the confidence, because that's sort of the difference is you can't hold back. You have to be able to commit to the move, but you're not going to have the confidence to commit to the move unless you know that you've done it, that you can do it, and you know the power that you have. And yeah, so I think that's sort of what led me to that. And yeah, it was a really cool moment at SBT because we had sat down and we'd gone through the finish, and we actually, I mean, it played out exactly the way that we had talked about it. Like I was like, side of the road, go here. It's going to be this long. If you get caught, this is what you do. And all of the things happened, and I was still able to pull it off. And I think that is a testament to confidence and having a plan and sticking to it and knowing that you believe in yourself and that there's somebody else out there that also believes in you and knows that you can do it.
The power of being able to practice efforts like that within training and understand what you are capable of is huge. I mean, the mentality there goes a long way. And then another thing that Melisa and I talked about is the fact that, if you notice that you are one of the strongest in the race, what do you do with that? Do you flex more? Do you work harder throughout the race? Or do you kind of pick key moments where when you do put the emphasis and energy in, that it actually impacts the people around you and not just impacts you, which is the difficult thing to do. And speaking to like what you were talking about, Matti, like within that article, I was talking about how there was a time where Melisa tested out the waters a little bit to see how everyone was around her. And I'll like never forget within her activity, like post-activity comments in TrainingPeaks, she put, I knew then that I was one of the strongest in the race. And that's when she was able to take confidence from that and actually settle down and relax a little bit and realize like, okay, I need to just stick with that effort that we had talked about late in the race and just focus on that, because that kind of raised that bar in the race, and that's kind of what it takes. And it's difficult when you're somebody that's looked to as a strong individual within the race. If you're overmarked, if you're expected to push the pace, and there's so much changing within the women's gravel peloton in such a positive way that there's a lot of unknown factors still going on. And that's kind of when chalking through these different situations is really important. And I think, like, honestly, Melisa and I can't talk through all the different situations that occur on road, but I think what she has really adapted to so well this year is the ability to understand and lean on different key things that she wants to take place throughout the race, and then adapt as the race does with her. So I think that's a huge, powerful piece that comes, again, with kind of the confidence that come with specificity training for these events. And, as she said, like, SBT was actually kind of an add-on to her schedule. So we didn't pull as much specificity from that. But the nice thing about it is it did replicate a lot of the work that we had already done for something like, as she said, Unbound and Leadville as well. So that was just almost like a practice round that she got to have, which was phenomenal. And we all need those, and that's really important. And to be able to talk through what we want to happen and then actually have it happen is really rare. It really doesn't happen. But when it does, like, hey, hard to hate on that. So
I don't know. Although I would argue that with how gravel is developing, because it's such a new sport, there's not like a rule book. There's not, there's sort of ways that races are won in different disciplines. And because this is such a new discipline, I think we're riding it right now. And so I think something really powerful, especially in women's gravel racing right now, is exactly what Isaiah and I are doing, which is we're going in with a plan and we're executing. We're not sitting and we're never on the back foot. And that's how races are being won right now, is by women that are making bold attacks and having a plan and confidence to follow through with it. So that's sort of how I'm viewing it at the moment, which I think is really cool. And it's really amazing to be a part of that as well.
Would you say that's a big kind of sea change in how races are playing out?
Yeah. I think it was definitely races were formerly won by whoever could hold on the longest, or with that, or the person that didn't blow up because they didn't hold on the longest. So the tactics are sort of changing. The women's only start is allowing for more flexibility and more ability for role playing and that sort of thing, which is really cool to see. And like I said, it's really cool to be a part of, but also it makes it really powerful to have somebody to talk through these scenarios with, because I never had to go through scenarios like this before. So I don't really know how to approach them. But again, having a plan and more practice with it is helping, making the racing better and more exciting. And yeah, with that, there'll be hopefully more sponsorship opportunities for women. So, we're just getting better. The racing is getting better. And I think it's a positive move forward for women's racing.
Yeah, here. Couldn't agree more. I'm interested in about your process, both Isaiah, your analytical process, leading into a race, and I guess the way you guys talk about it, maybe matching up Melisa's characteristics, because depending on someone's phenotype, say if they're a diesel, you might say, well, do a long bomb attack, but just looking at your, not quite decisive attack, but basically decisive attack at SBT, that 1 minute when you were going, I think when you started it, you were going 30 miles an hour or something crazy. That was interesting. And it seemed like that was maybe a card you could play. So maybe you're really explosive, less than a diesel. I don't know. Say more about that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, a lot of it is what tools do you have that you can use? And one of the first things I did with Melisa was take apart her power curve and find her strengths, and then find what I felt was a little bit underdeveloped. And then we've honed in on that within her training big time. And she came to me with a lot of strengths. That's not to say that that wasn't always very evident. And one of those strengths was a 1 minute to 5 minute profile, and then her depletion of that over time. So that was one thing that I really wanted to focus on, was that we knew that was a strength that she had really developed, but then being able to do that late into a race and really push the drop in percentage on those efforts over KJ after KJ.
Yeah.
A lot of all the races that she's doing are pretty long in duration. So that was really pivotal. And then to have pre-efforts ahead of that as well, to be able to prime that system, also was important. So that was one thing, for example. And then actually, Melisa and I talk quite a lot about, within each one of these races, what her strengths are that she can apply, and then what she should lean on in particular situations and what she shouldn't. And I mean, to be honest, like, Mel comes to these conversations with a lot of ideas, and they're really good. And it's more just like her and I chatting through different situations and what is possible and what's not. And she knows all these courses very, very well. And then she's also the one that's in the thick of the racing, and she knows how different girls will respond in different situations, and who she thinks is really the ones that will push the pace and who is not. That's a super fun dynamic to have. And those conversations are kind of like, all right, this, maybe that, maybe this, maybe that. And then we go back and forth on that. And that, I think, works really, really well. But it is pulling apart. Okay, we think that this section of the course will cater to a good launch pad or not. Speaking to like phenotypes, yeah, there is a bit of that. I think Melisa is actually a better sprinter than she gives herself credit for, but that is something that we tend to, so we tend to try and cater the race away from, I would say, a large group finish. And of course, if you can finish solo ahead of the group, then that's just a guarantee rather than a gamble. So we tend to try and look for moments like that. And that's a good example of taking who she is as an athlete and what her strengths are, and then trying to lean into that more than not. But yeah, the sprinting side has been like, hey, you won a sprint finish this year. So it's something that we've been working on, and she's gaining a lot of confidence on. But yes, so to answer your question, there is a lot of catering to the athlete type that she is, and then also what we've been working on in training, because you can kind of cater your phenotype to the type of work that you do as well.
You're kind of telling on yourself, though, because if you say an athlete is really good at 1 minute and really good at 5 minutes and has won Leadville and has won, you're basically saying I'm good at all twitching, like I'm just an all twitch person. Oh, okay. Thanks for that. That's not exactly actionable advice. But so one thing, Melisa, so you were a chemistry major, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Yep.
Being, a rigorous like scientific education, it sounds like you're bringing that same like amount of rigor to your analysis. Like, it's pretty wild to me. You sound like a chess player when you're in a race, like, somebody takes a flyer and you're like, you probably kind of know their power curve or something. Like is that fair? Is that the level of prep we're talking about here?
I mean, no, maybe not numbers, but yeah, I think there's a level of that. I like to know as much as I can about my competitors. I don't like to go in blind to anything, which is sort of why, I think it really works well for me to sort of have played out scenarios beforehand. Just, I don't know, I can operate sort of on the fly, but I think having a tool book or whatever, I guess, a key to help me in scenarios like that. Yeah, I think for sure my brain works in a very like scientific way, and there's a formula and things sort of play out in a formulaic way. I think that definitely plays into it.
So another thing I noticed, Isaiah, I think you had an Instagram post recently about how you're trying to show up in person for your athletes more recently. You were there at Leadville, right? That was one of the big. That was like a big use
Yeah.
example
Yeah.
of you doing that. Yes, say more
Yeah.
about that, because I think especially with software like TrainingPeaks, lots of coaches may never have actually met their athletes in person through their entire career.
Yeah. I mean, I've been a remote coach for a long time, and I've had athletes that I've coached for 10 years that I've never met in person, which is wild. Like I know everything, I know a lot of things about their life, and I still haven't met them. So, but as Melisa was saying, I direct, I'm a performance director for Project Echelon. So I travel the world with that team, and the power of being in front of an athlete and having direct conversations while the emotions are raw from a race is really empowering. Then on top of that, when you pull out, an athlete's nervous, maybe an athlete's stressed, and then you can have those conversations in real time on the ground, it goes a long way. Like even from the side of like, oh, I can feel the wind right now, or you can look at the energy around the athlete. I think it makes a really big difference. So it's kind of a funny situation where the coaching industry has gone, where it is like, it's just a person over the phone, or even on the other side of TrainingPeaks, when that's great. And that you do have a lot of value there. Like I mentioned, like having all the data sets, you can learn a lot, but at the same time, I think what I learned is we're kind of receiving that removal of emotion and the ability to really be there for the athlete. So I was at Leadville. I had a variety of athletes that I was supporting. And that's something that I would like to, continue to push more for. And the interesting thing about the racing community, both within the Lifetime Grand Prix, for example, and even stage races and or XC races or something like that. Like there's a different variety of support that you can provide. Some races that you can actually provide very little support other than talking to them, and then others you can actually feed the athlete on course or provide mechanical support and other things like that. So I think it's just all about like what I would be able to provide for athletes. But like Melisa, we kind of talked, like she had a really big support crew out on course. She just has whole families there. She's been doing it for so many years. She has a very big community in Leadville. So we talked ahead of time about how I could help. And really the only thing that I was able to help with was splits. So I was there at Twin Lakes providing splits if it came to that. And then otherwise,
did you tell the truth?
support.
Did you tell the truth, or did you?
I don't mess around with splits.
Yeah.
No,
You don't
it
like
actually,
plays.
yeah, it was helpful. Because just after I saw Isaiah, I had linked up with Lauren Stevens, who was just ahead of me in second, and she did not know the gap from us to Keto.
Yeah.
And I did, so I held it over her head. No, I was just kidding. I told her, but yeah, I mean, it's super powerful. Even something small like that, because those are just little details that we don't get. We don't have team cars following us. We don't have radios. Unless somebody's on the side of the road actually timing it, we don't know. We have no idea. And it is powerful information to know in real time. I mean, as real of time as we can. So yeah, that was super cool to have Isaiah out there. Also, cheers. They're always good.
Yeah, Yeah, it's coming from like directing in Europe. I'm just used to giving that information from the car, as Melisa was saying, and through radios. But it's basically, we like to watch the tour and say, the directors are making this call and this call and this call. And it's actually like the directors are delayed. What the information that we give it tends to be very delayed. But the concept is that we give information, and that's then the athletes are able to make a tactical decision around that information. So like even something small tends to be the difference for somebody that's actually able to win the race. So that's the goal. But it was, honestly, like if you haven't been to Leadville, it's an intoxicating environment. And a lot of these races are. It's also, just to be honest, like from a selfish standpoint, it's super rewarding just to be at these races, because it is just an environment that you want to be a part of. And I may not want to do these races anymore, but just to be in front of these athletes that are really pursuing that upper level. And then, especially Leadville this year, records were broken on a very slow conditioned day. And so they were moving, they were flying. It was super empowering and pretty amazing just to see.
Yeah, it was also cool having you at the finish line debrief right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear more about that. Like, is it actually neat to see your coach immediately after?
Oh, for sure.
Finish
I
line?
mean, it helps that it was a good day. So
Yeah.
there was no consoling, but yeah, I mean, it was cool to just go through it really briefly. And yeah, I pay Isaiah so that he can give me kudos and so tell me I'm pretty and no, I'm just kidding. tell me I'm a good athlete, and he got to do that right away. It was great.
I did. Yeah, I think there's always a balance to when you can talk to an athlete after an event. You have to be very careful. Let's put it that way.
You didn't jump in. You're like, what's your normalized power? What do you think your heart rate drifting?
Let me
like,
see your file. Like, did you get the file? No, no, there was none of that. It was, I want to hear how their day was. That's, I think, the root of it was like, you can read an athlete really quickly on if they look like they had a great time, if they look like they didn't, if they need a second to collect themselves, or if they are ready to go. And Melisa was smiling and obviously had a good time, and so that was kind of the easy side of things. I mean, this stage is such a big stage now that I actually had to send somebody to go tap her on the shoulder and say, hey, can you go get her real quick? Because there's a lot of people who want interviews, and that's I want to give that some space. But yeah, I think it's an amazing thing to hear for an athlete that's ready for it, to hear their experience immediately once they cross the line and get that raw emotion is, you might turn around and the next day they might say something very different. So it is impactful to have both sides of that, and then, process that as it is.
If you're commenting in TrainingPeaks on your race, usually there's like a lot of thought that goes into it. So it's kind of cool to have the immediate response and interaction post race.
Yeah. What kind of comments are you, Melisa? Do you leave novels or cryptic, like tweet like things that Isaiah has to depack and ask for clarification?
I think if I make a comment, it's usually very thoughtful, but
Nice.
I don't always make a comment.
When we started working together, there was really no comments, and then she's gotten a lot better. But when she does comment, it is thoughtful, and she's thought through it, and there's purpose to it. So there's not a lot of like puzzle working from the comments, which is nice.
Yeah. Nice. So I'm curious. You won last year, Lisa, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's not quite on the level of the Super Bowl, but it kind of like, at least in my heart, it's like kind of like spiritually equivalent. So how do you not want to like hang up your wheels after something like that? Like, how do you keep your motivation to keep on just throttling yourself in training and going through these emotional roller coasters?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really good question, and something I totally battled with last year after I won. I actually took time off the bike after I won, and I had a hard time finding purpose for the rest of the year. I did eventually find it. I think it sort of took me thinking through and breaking down what it is about Leadville that I love. Because if you think about it from my perspective, I started racing and Leadville was the first race I ever did. And the first time lining up, I wasn't like, one day I hope to come back and win. That was something that happened over time. And I think with a lot of goals, it's not like nobody can tell you what your goals are, and nobody can decide for you what you want and what drives you. And so I think over time, that's what happened to me with Leadville. Is I decided I really thought I was capable of winning it, and I eventually wanted to, but it was sort of like a 5-year plan, 10-year plan. I don't know. Like, maybe this will happen and then I'll retire, or something like that. It was sort of like this end goal for me. And then it just happened. It happened on a day that I was not I was as ready as I was going to be, but I was not mentally ready for it. And I achieved this massive goal. I mean, I wasn't a nobody, but I don't really think that I was a favorite necessarily, unless you were totally watching And I think I sort of came out of nowhere. And yeah, it's really hard to deal with that, and it's hard to move forward, and it's hard to sort of figure out how to, find what's next. And so I really spent a lot of time deciding or thinking about what it is about Leadville that I love. Why that race? Like, how do we find motivation in other races that drive us in the same way? What I love about Leadville is like really fast descents. I love going really fast on, like rock breaking, bike breaking fire road descents. And I like when the speeds are so fast that you like, unless you have like really, really good suspension, like you can't even see. Like I love that. And I love like the speed of sound in a big group of riders when there's like rocks crashing up. And so I identified these things, and I love like steep climbs that are really hard, and I like to look around and see that like I think I'm hurting less than everybody else. So it's like all of these things that I love about Leadville are actually in other gravel races that I do. I just need to be able to identify that and sort of have a moving target instead of just one. So when I approached Leadville this year, I had quite a different perspective on it. It's like, yes, I want to win, but I know that that's not something that happens every year. And I also know that like the level or the playing field is always different and things can happen. So I think instead of focusing on, I want to win, I want to defend my title, it's the only thing that's going to be successful in this day, I think there were small things that I could do that would also mean winning for me, which I identified for myself as like, I want to be able to finish off the race strong. I want to try to be like, I want to be able to make moves in the race late, which is something that I did. And I did it not only in the real race, but I did it in the stage race 2 weeks earlier, which was also a really big win for me. So yeah, I guess when I finished Leadville this year, I was second. It was really great. I had a great day. I had a record-breaking
It's okay.
time.
Better luck next year.
I know, right? But what's actually really interesting is that not having won it, I think sort of set me up to have a better headspace going into the rest of the races. Like my world didn't stop 2 weeks ago after Leadville like it did last year. I didn't have to like sit on the couch and think about like just my head spinning for like 72 hours. Like I couldn't even eat after Leadville last year when I won. I couldn't eat. I was sick. I had no purpose anymore. And yeah, I mean, this year it was just a race, which I don't know if that's, maturity of an athlete or maybe not winning. I don't know the difference between first and second. You could go into that maybe a little bit, but yeah, I actually left Leadville super motivated. I'm like, man, Kate just showed me what's possible. So
I have to say that was an all-time great answer. What I really liked about it was how you didn't identify some sort of like external cherry that you were chasing, like I need to get first in the Grand Prix or something, or first in this other race. You just named things you liked about the experience. It wasn't like I want to get this result. It's like I love going so fast downhill that I think I'm going to die. I like the sound of my competitor slowly dying as I'm pulling away. Like all of those things. I mean, that motivate, like it's an experience thing, and that's so evergreen. And I don't know. I think especially from a seasonal perspective, this season winds down. People are like searching for what their thing is next year. They might take a page from your book and think like, not like where you want to finish on a result sheet, but like, how do you want to feel when you're racing? That's a super cool perspective. Is that something Isaiah taught you, or?
No, this one's all her. And I think at the beginning, like when we first started working together, you were still kind of processing everything, and you were a little bit still in pursuit of that. But as I said, like when I talked to her at the finish of Leadville, it would have been really easy to be just defeated and say, oh, well, I didn't win, I didn't succeed. But we even ahead of the race, when we talked about goals, she did outline those things, and she had talked through it. And even at the finish, like, it was, she was awe-inspired by kind of what Kate did, and also able to be happy with what she did out on course at the same time, which I think is maturity. And it does take taking the time to come to the race with, things that you can control and things that you can put into motion out on course that don't depend on how everyone else around you is. And I don't know, it was inspiring as a coach, because it is actually very rare to see an athlete able to do that and then actually process it on course. I mean, Leadville is a long race, so there's more time to think maybe, but it is difficult to do emotionally too.
Yeah. I think something else that was really cool about this year as well is that last year I had no metrics in Leadville. I had no heart rate and no power. So I don't know what I did. I just floated, like I said, there's just speed out there.
So many coaches' brains are exploding right now, plus athlete brains.
I mean, and it wasn't only that. That's how I trained at altitude for the entirety of the time that I spent up there. So when I came to Isaiah, we had no idea what I was capable of at altitude. And 10,000 feet is a lot different. I live at 4,000 feet. I live in Salt Lake City. So yeah, I do live at altitude. I've been to Boulder, like a little bit higher, but we had no idea what I was capable of. Like, not even with heart rate. So
Nothing. Ghost files.
Yeah.
Ghost files, the best kind of files.
Yeah. So we actually I went up to Leadville halfway through the summer. So like 8 weeks out or something from Leadville. And Isaiah had me doing some workouts up there, just, data sets, raw data. And it sucked. It was terrible. I don't know if I told you this, Isaiah, but after one of the intervals, I literally sat on the side of the road. I got off my bike and I sat down and I took my helmet off. And I was like, I'm never going to do well here again. I don't. So,
what?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Wait, this is this year? Like, you won last year.
Yeah.
And you're on the side of so I could have been like having a little ride and I could have seen the winner of Leadville last year just on the side of the road. Like, feeling bad about herself.
Yeah. It was so bad that, like, I listen to music when I ride a lot, and I had to take my headphones out and be like, I can't have anything going into my brain right now. Like, I just need to be, like, present and hating my life. And, like, I need all of my brain cells to be functioning enough to convince myself not to quit right now.
This is incredibly relatable. This is interesting.
And then
perspective.
And then I got on my bike and I did the final. we do like these like race winning efforts at the end of rides sometimes, and this was like mid one of those rides. So I had a little cry break, and then I got back on my bike and I did my race winning efforts.
It's super impressive.
Isaiah, is that a workout library you can share with the broader TrainingPeaks community? Like,
sure.
Start off 4 minutes, ride for 5 hours, cry, and then do another 4 minutes? Is that
it's all in the workout description, yeah.
That being said, I mean, like, I learned so much about what I was capable of. Like, I actually can look back at that file and I know exactly why I felt that way. And it's like, I know how many times I hit like over 300 watts or whatever, like X amount of watts that led me to feeling like this, which is so powerful at altitude. And so now I have this like collection of data that I can use going forward at altitude. And it really helped in preparing for the actual race this year, which, like I said, I mean, I was second, but I went 11 minutes faster on slower conditions this year, and I didn't cramp. And my best 1 minute power of the whole day was in the last 15 minutes of the race.
That's bananas. Yeah, congratulations for breaking the record, right? Like the time record. Like, weren't
broke
you
the
one
record
of...
and still got second.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, from the coaching side, it definitely was this like geeky moment where Mel told me ahead of time that she was thinking about going out to Leadville and making a pit stop there and then spending some time up there. And I was kind of like, oh, great. Like, this is my chance to throw essentially like this mini camp at altitude at her and see how she responds. Because it was far enough out from the race that the impact of it was going to be low. So then it wasn't a risk. So it was one of those situations where, yeah, I threw harder workouts at her than I probably normally would to somebody who's going to altitude, but we needed to see how she responded. And I mean, the cry break was not planned. That was not by design, but she also, like, what she's not saying is she crushed those workouts. Like, that was also because what's really fascinating about Melisa is her response to altitude is really unique, and it can be really infuriating as from like the coaching side to make sure that I'm tracking that impact correctly. But it's really low when normally people have a pretty high percentage at 10,000 feet of a percentage of drop. Hers is really pretty moderate. So that, keeping that in mind, but we've also really learned how quickly she acclimatizes to that altitude as well. So this miniature camp allowed us to kind of see impact early, and then through stuff like the stage race and then the time that she spent ahead of Leadville at Leadville, we were also able to see what that change can be as well. So it was all super fascinating on my side, but it is a lot to throw at an athlete for sure, no doubt. So she went through the emotions for that one, but it was, for somebody who had like a bunch of ghost files to having that, it was like one of the coolest moments ever.
I think a lot of people could look at your story, Melisa, and just be like, well, she's got it all together. She knows her data so well. Everything's like really no risks. You know, it's all scientific, evidence-based. And then you hear the reality. It's like you crying on the side, you taking big risks, Isaiah, like just throwing stuff at the, like working things out, taking chances, and then it works out, which is like kind of a normal athlete experience for people, you know? And that's, yeah.
Yeah, I think being a good athlete is just being able to like unscramble the mess a little bit better than others or something.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to Endurance Unlimited. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on your platform of choice to never miss new episodes. Also, be sure to leave a 5-star rating to let your coach and the algorithm know you're ready to dial in your training. Find more resources to help you take on your next challenge at TrainingPeaks.com, or find us on social media at TrainingPeaks. Got questions? Leave a comment or send an email to podcast@trainingpeaks.com. Good luck in whatever you're training for, and trust the process to reach your potential.